Coming up on The World Today, COVID-related travel chaos spills into new week. Afghanistan's Taliban ban long-distance road trips for solo women. Plus, South Africa begins a week of mourning for Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Tenyola Shoboale. There's been more COVID-related flight cancellations globally as the week starts, disrupting holiday travel plans for thousands of people. The FlightAware data tracking website says more than 1,400 flights have been scrapped today, with Chinese and U.S. destinations being the worst hit. U.S. airlines say the disruption is due to crews testing positive or isolated. Hong Kong is banning all South Korea's Korean air flights for 2 weeks after positive cases among some arrivals. In all, more than 8,000 flights have been grounded over the long Christmas weekend that began on Friday. New COVID-19 vaccine requirements have come into force in New York City as infections continue to surge, fueled by the Omicron variant of the virus. Children aged 12 and over are required to show proof of full vaccination to access indoor dining areas and many extracurricular school activities. The city is also introducing a vaccine mandate for private sector workers, the first in the U.S. to take such an action. Jabs are already compulsory for state employees. Cases of COVID-19 have soared in the city and across the country in recent weeks. An Israeli hospital has administered fourth COVID-19 vaccine doses to a test group as the country considers improving the measure for vulnerable populations in a bid to outpace a surge in infections fueled by the Omicron variant. Officials say the Sheba Medical Center study in Ramat Gan outside Tel Aviv will zero in on efficacy of the vaccine in producing antibodies and safety in order to determine if a fourth vaccine is needed in general. The 150 subjects are all medical staff. A health ministry expert panel last week recommended that Israel become the first country to offer a fourth vaccine dose, also known as a second booster, to those aged over 60, those suffering from compromised immune systems, and medical workers. Well, the VOA's Linda Gradstein is in Jerusalem. She joins us now for more. Linda, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
My pleasure.
It seems Israeli officials are surging forward with the idea of a fourth dose of the vaccine. But how are ordinary Israelis reacting to the prospect?
Well, there's a lot of hesitancy. You know, Israel was one of the first in giving vaccines, but and went ahead very quickly. However, when they decided to vaccinate children aged 5 to 11, a lot of parents were quite hesitant, and hundreds of thousands of children have still not been vaccinated. So I think there is definitely some hesitancy on the part of Israelis. Also, it has not been officially approved yet. They're going to do the study that you just spoke about, and then they're going to see how much efficacy there is. My guess, however, is that certainly people with immunocompromised or the elderly will definitely go to get it. Whether somebody who's 60 or 62 and healthy will go remains to be seen.
But how soon is this likely to become official, though?
Well, you know, last week, the Israeli government said that it was going to move ahead and that within a matter of days it would start. Now they seem to be kind of backing away a little bit. There were press reports today that said it won't be for people over 60, it'll be for people over 70, and once they check the efficacy. Now, the truth is that the preliminary reports show that Omicron, while being extremely contagious, has a very low hospitalization rate. So there are some Israeli health experts who are saying it might actually be better for people to get Omicron if they don't have any kind of, illnesses that would make it more complicated, and that perhaps Israel should not be going ahead with the vaccination. So I think there's a debate within the health community here, and it probably will be another week or two before they make a decision.
All right, Linda, just paint us a picture of the COVID-19 situation in the country, bearing in mind that Israel was the fastest country to roll out initial vaccines a year ago. What impact has this had?
I'll tell you one personal thing, which is today in my Facebook memories, myself getting the vaccine came up. My husband and I went and got it together, and I remember how excited we were. So the situation is that the number of very seriously ill people is low. Israel has introduced a lot of new restrictions again. For example, the airport is basically shut down. The only way to get in or out is with a special exceptions committee, which has a huge backlog. So I think there are 69 countries that are on what's called the red list that Israelis are not allowed to fly to. So, I think there's a fair amount of frustration. Most people have had 3 vaccines, the 2 regular vaccines plus the booster. And Israelis have what's called a green pass, which is a vaccination certificate on their phone that you have to show in a lot of places, including gyms and restaurants and places like that. A lot of children, as I said before, are still not vaccinated or not fully vaccinated. And I think there is concern about the Omicron variant. Israel has started requiring this green pass to get into malls, large stores, which it hadn't before. And I think just like every place in the world, Israelis are just tired of it. They've kind of had it. They want life to go back to normal. And until Omicron, everyone thought life was going back to normal.
All right, then, Linda, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed.
Sure, thank you. Nice to speak to you.
Over in Spain, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has asked residents to continue getting vaccinated against COVID-19 as coronavirus cases increase in the country. But he says he does not expect as many hospitalizations or ICU admissions as in past waves. Spain lifted most restrictions over the summer thanks to a high vaccination rate that suppressed infection. But Omicron's arrival has sent daily cases soaring to reach a record of more than 72,900 on December the 23rd. Away from the COVID-19 pandemic, the Taliban have said Afghan women seeking to travel long distances by road should be offered transport only if accompanied by a male relative. The directive is the latest curb on women's rights since the Islamist group seized power in August. The majority of secondary schools remain shut for girls, while most women have been banned from working. Campaign group Human Rights Watch says the new restriction moves further towards making women prisoners. South Africa has started a week of mourning to honor anti-apartheid icon and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who died in a Cape Town nursing home on Sunday at the age of 90. Bells rang at midday from the city's St. George's Anglican Cathedral, where the Nobel laureate had urged South Africans of all races to work together against apartheid. They will hold for 10 minutes at noon for 5 days. The Archbishop will lie in state for 2 days before an official state funeral on January the 1st in Cape Town.
At 10 a.m. on Saturday, New Year's Day, the funeral will take place here, and it is here where his ashes will also be interred. But expect announcements in the next day or two from other churches and institutions of state and non-governmental organizations about their events. Please attend services in your local communities and parishes. Our list of possible attendees at the funeral run to 400 or 500 names and more than hundreds of clergy. But COVID regulations restrict attendance at funerals to a maximum of 100, and we must respect that. Only a fraction of those who want to be there can be accommodated in the cathedral. So please don't get into a bus to Cape Town. We have arranged those cathedrals and the local parishes so that we cater for your needs.
Meanwhile, people have laid flowers at the St. George's Anglican Cathedral in front of Desmond Tutu's home in Cape Town and in front of his former home in Soweto, Johannesburg, to pay tribute.
We had our paths crossed way back when he was still the Bishop of Cape Town, and then I used to install a PABX in the St. George's Cathedral. And then I worked in when he was the Bishop of Johannesburg, I worked in his house in Parktown as well. He was a very, very humble man, a man of integrity, and a man, a very sincere, honest man. You can see it because the way he speaks to you, the way he addresses you, and he doesn't stand on anything but his feet is on the ground. His feet was always on the ground.
To pay tribute to a great man, a man that taught us many lessons during struggle and even during freedom. A man that transcended politics, he transcended religion, certainly opened up to all and sundry who were prepared to be part of speaking truth to power.
And as part of the week of mourning, Cape Town sites have been lit up in purple to mark the passing of Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Cape Town City Hall and the Table Mountain, which rises above the city, will be illuminated every night this week in purple.
An appropriate visual symbol to memorialize and celebrate the life of this remarkable Capetonian, this remarkable human being, Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu. We really had to go with the color that was so synonymous with him, with his tenure as Archbishop, and that is obviously purple. And so we decided to light up the City Hall in that color purple, the Table Mountain, and St. George's Cathedral around the corner from here, in celebration of his life. And the hope is that when these images of these iconic Cape Town sites go around the world, bathed in the light of, in this purple light, that it will be a helpful reminder to everyone around the world to remember and celebrate this truly great Capetonian and human.
Archbishop Desmond Tutu was an uncompromising foe of apartheid in South Africa, working tirelessly and peacefully for its downfall. In 1984, the South African cleric and activist won the Nobel Peace Prize. A decade later, he witnessed the end of that regime and chaired a Truth and Reconciliation Commission set up to unearth atrocities committed during those dark days. Here's more on his life and times.
Archbishop Desmond Tutu was born in October 1931 and ordained an Anglican priest in 1961. He was thrust into the limelight in 1978 when he was appointed Secretary General of the South African Council of Churches. Talking and traveling tirelessly throughout the 1980s, he forced the West to focus on the suffering of South Africa's black majority under white rule.
Apartheid is as evil, as immoral, as unchristian in my view as Nazism. And in my view, the Reagan administration's support and collaboration with it is equally immoral, evil, and totally unchristian without remainder.
He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1984 for his non-violent campaign to win racial equality for his people. In 1986, he became the first black head of the Anglican Church in South Africa when he was enthroned as the Archbishop of Cape Town, a position he retained for 10 years. When black nationalist leader Nelson Mandela was released from his 27-year imprisonment in 1990, he stayed with his longtime friend Desmond Tutu on his first night of freedom and gave his first news conference in the grounds of Tutu's official residence. 4 years later, an ecstatic Desmond Tutu was able to vote for the first time in South Africa's historic all-race elections. What hopes he may have had of a gentle retirement faded when President Mandela asked Tutu to head the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, charged with the delicate task of probing political crime committed during the apartheid era. In spite of failing health and undergoing treatment for potentially terminal cancer, he continued in his role as the nation's moral guardian. He regularly criticized the ruling African National Congress and was not averse to attacking Mandela's successors, Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma.
Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your love, Tata Tutu. Thank you.
Archbishop Tutu, who retired from most public duties in October 2010, is still seen as a voice of integrity. The Arch, as he is affectionately known, will be remembered as one of the leading lights of the struggle against apartheid, who was not afraid to condemn injustice wherever he saw it.
We raise our hands and we say, we will be free! All of us! Black and white together! For we are marching to freedom!
Renowned Indian artist Citizen Patnaik has created a sand sculpture to pay tribute to South African anti-apartheid hero Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He says Desmond Tutu's work will always be remembered around the world. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and spiritual leader Dalai Lama are part of world leaders who have sent their condolences.
It's called Bridging Yamyan, a song.
While also joining leaders across the world to mourn the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Nigeria's former president Olusegun Obasanjo says his death is a great loss for South Africa and the African continent. In an exclusive interview, Chief Obasanjo describes him as a humanist and a moral compass who fought against apartheid in South Africa. The former president says he would be missed by all, especially by him, as he was highly instrumental to his becoming the president of Nigeria after he was released from prison.
I remain eternally grateful to him. When I came out of prison and I had this decision to make, pressure was mounting on me to come and contest the presidency of Nigeria. Apart from consulting with people in Nigeria, there were two South Africans I consulted, Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela said to me, when I told him, I said, look, I came out of prison, this pressure was mounting. He said, follow your intuition. I said, thank you, Madiba. Desmond Tutu, when Desmond Tutu listened to me, he said, my brother, what you are saying is that your country wants you to serve. And you are saying you have served before and you went to prison. And you don't want to serve again. I said, no, that's not quite what I'm saying. He said, say it again. I repeated myself. And he said, well, the same story I've got. And my brother, go back home and serve your people. There are no two ways about it. I will say to my brothers and sisters in South Africa, I will heartfelt condolence. We have lost a great South African, a great African, a great man of black race, a great Christian, and as you rightly put it, a great moral compass.
And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shoboale.